Hey guys, for today's video, we're working on this Mastercraft 10.5 horse 30-inch cut. I got this for basically a really good price. I paid $100 for it. My goal was to get it running so I could use it. Basically, there's a lot going bad for this. It won't run. I've used the electric start. I've cranked on it. It's got fuel in it. I've tried pulling it over. The pull cord's kind of stuck in here. It doesn't really go back in. See? They got this little thing going on here with the power steering. So this has got the power steering knob. So basically all it is a brake on each wheel. They got this going on. I think what they did was they got too short of a cable. And they got it all taped here. And just so that way when it rubs, it doesn't... I guess it doesn't rub through or whatever. I don't know if this is the power steering cable or... Oh, this is actually the auger cable, I believe. Is this the auger cable? Yeah, this is the auger cable. So I went and I picked up an auger cable for it. I'll put the part number and show you guys that once we go to assemble it. Basically today I'm going to go over this entire machine. If you have a snowblower that doesn't run, or you know you went to start it this winter and it just won't start, this is probably going to be a good video to watch. You know, I'm going to go over this whole thing. We're going to take off the carburetor, which is located just underneath this cover here. We're going to give this thing an oil change. We're going to completely clean the fuel system. I'm going to take off the side cover here. I'm going to fix this pull cord. I'll show you guys how to do that. And yeah, we're just going to completely go over this entire thing. So right now I'm going to get you guys set up on the tripod. I'm going to get some tools that I need. And we're going to start by taking off this side cover. And we're going to start by digging into the carburetor. We'll get you up on the bench. I'll take apart the entire carburetor, show you guys how to rebuild a carburetor. And then we'll clean out the fuel system and whatnot. And then we'll kind of go from there once we get it running. So I'll get you guys all set up here. Okay guys, just before we get you up on the bench, I think it's important before we start digging into the carburetor, we should check and make sure it's got sparks. So I think that's normally the first step you should take. So I'm just going to pull out the spark plug. This is all real time. We're going to pull out the spark plug here. This is a 13/16 socket, spark plug socket. Just going to crack this very easily. Pull out the spark plug. We're just going to plug it back into the boot. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hold this on something to basically ground out the spark plug. Here, let me probably right there. Just want you guys to be able to see this too. And I'm going to hit this start button and hopefully we have spark. Now, make sure when checking for spark, make sure that you have the machine on. So make sure that the throttle lever is not pushed all the way down. Otherwise, you won't get spark. Make sure that the throttle level is about halfway up. And here we go. I don't know if you can see that, but we have spark. So we can eliminate that now from why this thing is not running properly. Again, just like, I don't know if you've seen my other videos with the generator, these are one of those things that people use in the winter. They put them away, they don't winterize them, and they sit in their shed all summer, and normally by the time it's winter time and they want to use it, they go to start it up and the carburetor's all gummed up, it's got old fuel in it and whatnot. So it's kind of, I always normally skip this step, but it's something you want to check anyways. Okay, we're gonna start working on getting that side cover off next. Okay, basically for this next step, I got myself a pair of pliers here. I got just a pair of needle nose, little angle on them. I find they help a little bit. I got a Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, and a 7/16 wrench. I like to always, I find getting this cover off, trying to shimmy it around, kind of be a pain. So I like to take off this rod here. The best way I find to take off this rod here is just pull this, little cotter pin here. Make sure you put all your stuff in a nice neat pile so you don't lose anything. I just pull the cotter pin and then I let that down. After that, I like to pull this knob off here. This knob comes off pretty simple. I just put a flathead screwdriver behind it and give her a little shimmy like that. And this knob comes off. Again, put it somewhere where you're going to remember. Next, I just pull out this. There's 4 Phillips head screws that hold this on. You might want to throw some WD-40 on this the night before you start working on it, just to help loosen things off. So I like to start with taking these guys out. Oh, there's one there. Remember which one goes where. It kind of does matter. Some of them are self-tappers. Other ones are actually threaded for the hole that they go into. So let's look at these 2 here. And there's one on the other side just over here. And right in the dipstick hole. If you just follow around this cover, you'll be able to see it. This one over here seems to be a torque head spec one. So here, I'm just going to grab another tool here. That's a 3/8. Nope, I'm wrong. That's a 5/16. This one over here is a 5/16. Today I'm just kind of in my relaxed clothes. I wasn't planning on doing any of this, but we got a big snowstorm coming tomorrow, and it's New Year's Day. So I'm just kind of, was supposed to be vegging. I didn't really get too dressed up today or anything. So once you get out those, you just take this cover. Be careful, there's a ground wire that's attached in here. I like to just set it off to the side and get it out of the way without putting too much tension on these wires. Make sure you guys can still see what's going on here. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, we'll just leave it right there. Perfect. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. I'm trying to make sure you guys see everything in real time. Okay, so now on to the carburetor. Basically, there's just these 2 screws that go into the back. I like to, the back one, you don't really have to hold this if you can't get onto it. So I like to just take this. They can be a little bit tough. I like to get them cracked loose first. So it's just a Phillips head. And as you can see, that was pretty tough. There's also one in the back on the other side of the intake. And you just crack both of those. There's a nut holding each one on. So try not to lose this stuff that is attached here. Try to remember where everything goes as you're taking this stuff apart. Throw a camera on yourself, videotape yourself doing it. It's kind of important just to know. So now I got this crack loose. There's a little tube or hose that goes on the front here. I like to just pull that off. Generally it just breaks because they're so brittle. So I got that pulled off. Your fuel line comes in the back here. I'm just going to come around to this side. And maybe I'm not. I'm going to shut off the fuel here. Okay, I'm going to quickly come around to this side. I'm going to drain this tank so that way I don't have fuel pouring everywhere. So I'm just going to pull the little valve here off this side. I'm just going to come up under here and I'm just going to pull this down, catch all that fuel that comes out, drain it all because it's probably old anyways, and then I'll set you guys back up and we'll proceed with what we were doing here. Okay, rather than just pull that tube off, I figured I might as well take the tank right off. It's just 2 10 mil bolts, so I'm just going to quickly pull this tank off with these 2 10 mil bolts. I figure I might as well pull it right off, that way I can be sure that it's completely drained. We're not leaving remnants of any bad fuel, maybe debris that might be in the tank. So it's pretty simple. You pull these 2 10 mil bolts out, just kind of pull it down. Now the tank's off. Now I can access this a lot better. We got one of these little spring clamps on here, trying to break it. They're pretty expensive. So I just take that and pull it off. And there. Now I can take this, well, I'm just going to take this over to my bin over here, and I'm going to drain it into there, and I'm going to leave it off until we get the carburetor back on. So I'm just going to take this and dump all this yucky fuel out. It doesn't look too bad coming out of there. I don't know if you guys can see that. It doesn't look too bad. It's pretty clear. But hey, who knows? Better to be safe than sorry. You don't want to take the whole carburetor off your machine and then start running this fuel back through your machine and find out, oh, you know, and gum it all back up and stuff. It's just not worth it. So I'm going to let this drain over here. Let it do its thing. Let it take its time and drain. And we're going to get back onto the carburetor. Okay, so we got that all pulled off there. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this. It's really important you remember that which hole it was in. I don't know, I always like to put it back in the exact same hole, so you just kind of tip the carburetor up. It can be a little bit tricky. You just tip it up and this will fall right out. Now the only thing left connected is our fuel line. So I'm just going to take these fancy little pliers I got, and we're going to pull that off. Again, be careful with the spring clips. Just slide them back. These things can be tough to get off. Depends really. Sometimes they give you all kinds of trouble. That's why I like to have a flathead on hand. Careful of your fingers. If you don't want gas getting all over your shop floor, might be a good idea to put something on the ground to catch all this stuff. Because the carburetor does have liquid and stuff in it. Okay, I'm going to go grab another screwdriver, get that fuel line off, and we'll start you back up on the bench and we'll start pulling this thing apart. Okay, I got you guys all set up here on the workbench. Basically what you're going to need for this rebuilding this carburetor here is you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. I like to have a razor blade for cleaning off the old gasket material and whatnot. A flathead just for pulling off the old hose that's stuck on and stuff. Just makes life easier. And for the bowl nut, you're going to need a 1/2 inch socket here. Also, almost forgot, you're also going to need a 1/4 inch socket to take that cover off. So I like to start by just spraying down the carburetor. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll see that I like to make sure you sprayed it down really good. This just makes sure that, you know, we're not going to get junk inside, more junk inside the carburetor when we go to rip it apart. So it's good to just, you know, use that as something to do every single time. I just like to give it a quick spray. You can take a toothbrush and you can scrape it down. I never do. I give it a good spray, and then I bring it over to my my compressed air here, and I just give her a good spray down. Okay, giving that a good spray down. I'm going to start by taking off this gasket. I like to use a razor blade here and just carefully scrape off this gasket. And this one's coming off very easily. You can use a lot of different things. You can use a wire brush too. Just be very careful. You don't cut yourself. So I like to just scrape off all this old material. In this case, if you don't have extra parts and extra gaskets and stuff, try not to break the ones that were on there. In this case, I took off the gasket and it's so brittle it just kind of fell apart, so I'm forced to replace it, which I'll give you guys all those part numbers as we rebuild this carburetor. I'm going to replace the the rubber seals. I'm going to replace the bottom bowl nut gasket, and I'm also going to replace the intake boot, the one I just scraped off here that's all junk. So after you do that, kind of get all the outside stuff cleaned off. I like to take off these things here, these little brackets that they have on there. So just going to pull this one off first. I had my little screwdriver that attaches this yesterday, and now of course I can't find it, so I'll have to do this kind of the hard way here. Nine times out of 10, guys, when you get a snowblower that doesn't run, this is generally the problem. So note which way this goes. It does matter when you're going to put it back on. So, you know, like I said, grab a video, grab your phone. Everybody nowadays has a phone. Grab your phone and kind of watch what you're doing. That way if you forget anything, you can go back and kind of look at the video. I've done this 100 times, so I know that it fits on there like this. So make sure that this hole's at the bottom. Next, I like to take out this this idle jet here. Basically what I like to do, I'm just going to quickly grab my other screwdriver here. So basically what I like to do with this is I like to count how many turns in it goes. So it's set exactly where it was before. So in this case, this one is driven all the way in, and it's kind of tight where it is. So we're just going to make sure that when we put this back in, we put it back in nice and tight. So we're going to pull this all the way out. There it is here. As you can see, there's a little hole in it. There's a hole in this end. I'll walk you through how to clean that. Next, we'll take off this cover here. Basically, I'm just taking these covers off so we can just get in closer to everything. If they don't come off, then you don't necessarily have to. There we go. These ones are really stuck on. Try not to strip them. Just makes life a lot easier being able to take off all this stuff here. Allows you to get your carb spray and stuff in all the little holes and your compressed air inside the throat of the carburetor, so that way you can make sure you eliminate any chance of debris or something blocking a path, or, you know, that way when you're done all this work and you go to start that snowblower, she'll start right up and run for you for at least the rest of the winter. So again, note where all this stuff goes. I'm just going to set that off to the side. Okay, so now we got our carburetor pretty much stripped down. I'm just going to pull off this old tube there. So we got our carburetor all stripped down now. Now I'm going to take off the bowl. This is normally where all the crud and stuff hides. You just want to use a 1/2-inch socket. Just kind of rolled away on me. And we're just going to crack this loose. I'm doing all this stuff real time. I know it's kind of boring watching me take all this stuff apart and stuff, but at least you guys get to learn. If you happen to do it yourself and you're like, oh, I forget which way that went, well, at least you guys kind of got something to reference to. Okay, so I got this apart. It's actually not too bad in there. I mean, there is some, as you can see, it's not the cleanest. There's some jelly stuff. You know, there's some debris right there. You can see I just wiped off. The rubber seal actually isn't too bad. We might reuse this rubber seal here. So if you don't have to replace it, there's no point. So we'll probably reuse that rubber seal. Now this is the most important part. This is the bowl nut that I pulled off. Right away I can kind of see the issue with it. Inside of here there's supposed to be a little hole that runs through and through. And with all the crud and stuff sitting in the bottom of the bowl, normally it's the first thing that gets clogged. So as you can see, if I take this little bread tie here and I push it through, there we go. See, this thing was all clogged, and so I'm definitely going to clean that up really good. I think that was probably the problem, but now that we're already this far, we might as well pull apart the rest of the carburetor and make sure it's clean. So you can pull out the little float pin and then carefully pull out your needle and your float. Set that aside. Now down in here you have a rubber seat. Be very careful that doesn't fall out, because if you put it all back together and that's not in there, you're going to have problems. You're going to have fuel leaking everywhere and whatnot. So now you got it all apart. Basically, you just clean everything up. I'm going to spray everything down in this stuff. This is just Motor Master carburetor and choke cleaner. I'm going to spray everything down like so. I'm going to give everything a good little wipe down. I'm going to make sure I spray carb spray in every single hole. I don't want to miss any of these holes. Every hole, except of course the screw holes, but every hole you see, there's holes inside there, hole here. You want to just spray the carb spray right to it, and then run the compressed air through it. Make sure there's no boogers or anything inside of the carburetor, and then we're pretty much ready for reassembly. So I'm going to clean up all these parts because, you know, that's kind of boring. I'm going to make sure that any holes like this, I'm going to make sure I run my wire through. I'm going to really clean up these holes and make sure that there's no blockages or anything. So the most important one again is this this bowl screw right here. You want to make sure that all these paths are clear. So there's a path here, and then there's a path that goes straight down. You want to make sure that that's clear and there's no grime or boogers in there. You also want to take your idle jet and you want to make sure that it's cleared out. So make sure your tie goes through here, and also you want to make sure that your tie goes through here. And you can see it kind of through those two holes there. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to clean all this stuff up, get it onto a new towel once it's all clean, and then I'll start reassembling, and I'll turn the camera back on so you guys can see how it all goes back together, and we'll give you guys some part numbers and stuff too. Okay, I'm starting to get all these parts cleaned up pretty well. Just want to show you guys, this is like a pretty important part. This little bowl nut here, you want to make sure that all the passages are clean. So I just want to run you guys through and show you guys where they all are. So right at the bottom here, it's kind of hard to see, but right at the bottom, here, hopefully my camera will focus here. Okay, so right at the bottom here, there's one that passes all the way through. You want to make sure that that's clean all the way through. Now, you don't want to be running drill bits or anything through there trying to, you know, make it any bigger. You just want to grab a wire and just slowly make sure it's all clean. On this one also, there's also a hole, and everybody seems to miss this hole. If my camera will focus in, right around the top thread, you can see right there, there's a hole. It can be tough to get stuff in there, but you want to make sure, see how that's going in right there? You want to make sure that you have that hole clean too. And then you also want to make sure that you run this wire straight down the top, and you want to make sure that it goes all the way to the bottom. And you can look through the first two holes that I showed you to make sure it is, okay? So make sure that all those passages are clean. Same with this guy right here. You want to make sure that, let's get this camera focused here. You want to make sure that that one right there that you can see light through right now is clean. Then you also want to run your wire straight down the center of this one. You want to make sure that that's clean too. All right, so I'm just gonna also I want to show you guys too, when make sure that you take your carb spray and you pass it through all the holes. So like there's a hole down here. Wear safety protection because you don't want to get stuff in your eyes. This carb spray can be pretty bad if you get it in your eyes. So make sure that you don't, wear safety glasses. Be safe, when you're doing this kind of stuff. So just put carb spray through all the holes that you can find. If you're not sure if you should put carb spray through it, do it anyways, just to be sure that you're covering all your bases. So I'm going to finish up doing this. I'm going to run compressed air through everything, finish cleaning everything up. We'll slide the new towel over, and then we'll start reassembling this thing. Okay, so I got all the parts clean. We're going to start moving on to the reassembly. I just wanted to give you guys I'm going to replace everything. I was thinking about keeping the, trying to save gaskets and rubber seals and stuff, but the problem with that is these things are like $2 each, and the amount of time it takes if you use an old gasket and you put it all back together and it leaks, it's just not worth the time to have to pull it all apart. So I recommend, order these on Amazon. Go to your local small engine guy. You can contact me and I can sell you some. I have a wall of parts. So anyway, so moving forward, I'm going to replace these. This is the bull gasket. So it's just a little tiny gasket that goes on the bottom of the bull, and I'll show you guys how to put that on. Your part number is right there, 27110A. So that's for this part number. You can pause that and write that down if you want. This is the rubber seal for the bowl. It's good to replace that too. The part number is 631028A. These are genuine Tecumseh parts. I wouldn't buy anything knockoff. I would buy a genuine one. And this will be using when we reassemble the carburetor to the machine. This is our intake gasket. Part number for this one is 33263. So if you guys want to note that, at least you don't got to go through schematics. Here's what you need for this style carburetor or this style machine right here. All right, so we're going to start assembling this. So first I like to start with the float bowl. So we're going to start by putting the pin back on the float bowl. This is just a little tiny hinge. It just basically slides on here like so. And you just kind of let it hang. And then very carefully drop it back into its seat. Guess I gotta get better with my left hand. Okay. Now we just slide our pin back through. You're basically just following all the steps you did to take it apart. So once I got that done, I want to make sure I do a blow test on it. So basically, when the carburetor is upside down, just to make sure that your needle and seat are seating, when your carburetor is upside down, you want to blow into it. When it's upside down, you should be able to blow into it, and you shouldn't be able to blow air through it. You should only be able to blow air through it when it's lifted up and the carburetor is calling for more fuel. So let's try this. It's up right now. I'm getting lots of air through it. Now watch what happens when I let it go. As you can see, I can't blow air through it. So we know that this needle and seat are seating, okay? That's the best way I can explain that to you guys. There's different ways of doing it. That's the easiest way, I find. So next we're going to open up our gasket here. Brand new. We're going to slide him on. Keep in mind too, guys, try not to get any carb spray on any of your rubber seals. If you do, the carb spray will actually make them swell and they become unusable. They don't seal proper. So I'm just going to put that on like so. I've had this question a lot and people say, oh, I took this bowl off and I don't remember which way it goes. Well, if you look at the bottom of the bowl, there's like a lower spot right here. You want your lower spot to be where your hinge pin is on your float bowl. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to roughly set it over. If it's not perfect, it doesn't really matter. But that's how they set them at the factory. So that's how they should probably go back on. So I'm just going to set it there, like so. Now I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab my next part. I'm going to tear this pack open. Take this out. It doesn't really matter which way this goes. It's just gasket, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to set that on my jet, the one that we cleaned very thoroughly. Make sure you clean this very thoroughly. And we're going to pop that on. Now don't become Hercules or anything. Put this in hand tight and just tighten it down. Once it stops, give it a little bit extra meat, and that's all you need to do. Don't go cranking this down. It's just a brass screw. It will break, and once you do that, you're probably into replacing the carburetor. So I just put it down like so. Easy peasy. Next, we're going to move on to this other little jet that we cleaned really good. We're going to put him back in, and we're going to go back to our notes, and we're going to remember that putting it back in, we're going to put it in nice and snug. You don't want to over tighten it. It just needs to be snug because that's where it was last time. Sometimes you'll find carburetors that, you know, they have a setting, so maybe they're 2 turns out. Sometimes you got to set them that way. So whenever you're taking out jets like this, remember which way they go. Next, I'm going to throw back on this little side plate. So I like to get things started. Never just crank in one side and then start cranking in the other side. I like to get both of them set in with my fingers, and then you can kind of crank them home. If you crank one side in, you get it all tight, and then you go to try to do the other side, you might have problems trying to get it together. It's just easier. Sorry guys, it's kind of hard to see this, but I'll show you exactly what I did here once I get these tightened down. Again, with these, they don't need to be crazy tight. So I just make them so they're tight, and then a little bit extra. That's all you need to do. Okay, next we're going to put back on our choke lever. Simple as make sure you slide this back up in so it's actually controlling the choke, and then put your screws back in. I tell you guys, one of the best things I got this year was a tripod. So I tried to do this before, and I'm trying to hold my phone and this and that, and it's just, wow, does a tripod ever make a difference? I just have to get better at blocking the camera with my hands, so. Practice makes perfect, though. Honestly, guys, it's best to do this at home yourself. You can save your money. Save going to a small engine guy. Save the wait time, you know. Save hauling that snowblower, wrecking your back trying to get it into your truck. Just, you know, go into your garage and do this. I bet you we're going to have a running snowblower now. So that's how easy that was, guys. I'm going to go over. I'm going to put you guys on the tripod over here. And we're going to get this all set up and get back on the machine, and then we're going to try and start it. And if it starts successfully, we'll start looking at changing that auger cable that we spoke about at the beginning of the video, and we'll look at fixing that pull cord rope. So here we go. Okay, I got you guys back down here. I actually had to go back and reference to remember what hole that little bar went into, but that's why video is very important, guys. So I'm going to start out. I'm going to start just basically reversing all the steps I've already done. So I'm going to start by putting on this fuel line. So we got the fuel line on here. Fuel line's on. Your fuel line looks kind of yucky. It's good to replace it. In this case, I think this fuel line's probably okay, so I'm not going to bother. This is my own personal machine, so if anything does happen, I can do that at a later date. Just for today, we're just trying to get this thing going so we can be good for this storm that's coming our way. So I got that back fuel line on. Next, I'm going to put my rod back in the same hole where it went. Basically, reverse the steps, tip it up, slide it in. That's on. I'm going to come around. I'm going to put this tube back on. I kind of cut the end off square off camera. I also put the fuel tank back on off camera just to make things a little bit easier. These videos can get pretty lengthy, and I'm sure you guys don't want to see all that easy stuff. So now I'm going to put on this gasket. Pretty sure I gave you guys the part number for that earlier. So I can start by just sliding this gasket on. Try not to tear it when you're putting it on. Just be very careful with it. Like so. like to start by putting this one all the way through too. Just like so. Carefully you're not pinching anything, and just make sure that everything's going on nicely. If it's not going on nicely, then you're probably pinching something or something just isn't right. So never force anything. Take your time. These little things can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes you'll feel like you need 6 hands. Of course, my arm's right in the way. Okay, let's see if I can't get this in here a little bit better. I'm just going to put these nuts on here. I'm just going to start it. I know I'm kind of in your guys' way, but I'm going to get it started here, and then I'll get it out of the way. So again, no Hercules stuff with this. I know they put them on pretty tight. Make sure they're good and snug. You don't want anything rattling loose. But they do kind of have a lock washer on them, so that kind of grips into the carburetor. So we got that back one nice and snug. This one on here nice and snug here. It's pretty cold out here. I'm in southern Ontario, and I think we're hitting temperatures of like maybe -10 at night now, and last thing I want to do is be out here and fixing snowblowers so I can get out of my driveway. We live kind of on a back road, so it kind of takes some time for things to get plowed around here. So there you have it. The carburetor's back on. I throw on this cover here quick. Not going to bother replacing any of these cables yet until I get it running, because I don't want to put too much time into something that could have more issues than just a carburetor. So got that set back on there nicely. I'm going to remember these screws go here. These aren't our self-tapping screws. I'm going to put everything in lightly. I'm not going to tighten anything down yet, just so we can get everything lined up and situated first. This is one of our self-tappers here. Again, it doesn't hurt to oil all this stuff up. If you know you're going to be working on it the night before, it does not hurt to oil everything up. This was kind of spontaneous today, so I didn't get around to doing that. So now I'm just coming over here, putting this one back in over by the dipstick. This one I always find can be a pain in the butt. You're kind of going through a few chunks of metal here into the block, so take your time, line everything up, guys. Don't just go ramming things in. You just make the next guy job a little bit harder. So I got all these in now. Start by tightening them all. Make sure they're nice and snug, but don't break anything. These screws can be pretty brittle. Again, sorry about the angles. We're going to put our little knob back on for our choke. Just slides on like so. Don't need to pound it on with a hammer or anything, just put it on nicely. Now we're going to connect our rod back. Just kind of set it in its grooves and let it fall where it wants to fall. Put our cotter pin back through. Don't know if you guys can see way down there. There we go. So here all I did was just kind of line it up. slid it in, and shove the cotter pin back through. Turn the handle. Function the way it should be. Okay, so that's basically how we do that. I'm going to set you guys up over on the other side. I'm going to fill this up with gas. We're going to hit the button and we're going to see if it runs. If it does, then we'll get into replacing that auger cable and checking out that pull cord that's not working right. We'll be right back, guys. Okay, so I put this tank on off camera, so I wasn't completely boring you guys. It's important, just run premium fuel in your stuff, guys. It's way better for your machines. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in. I'm not going to overdo it. I want to look around for any kind of leaks and stuff, just because I did just do this job. So look around your machine before you start it. Make sure she's not leaking anywhere. You don't want to start this and make a fire. So make sure it's not leaking. So I'm looking around here. I don't see any leaks or anything. So I think we're good. Let's see what this thing does. I got her all plugged in. As you can see, the muffler, I have not started this thing. My hand is on it right now. It's not warm at all. So I'm basically just going to prime it a few times here. Let's go with 5 times. We'll see what that does. I'm going to make sure my throttle's halfway up. And I'm going to switch it all the way over, the choke all the way over towards me so it's full choke. And let's hit the button. Okay, so that was a very good success. That was obviously the issue, was the carburetor. So next what I'm going to do, just to give you guys a little basics on just kind of getting it idling properly and all that. You'll see in the side cover here, sometimes they're covered up by screws, but you'll see in the side cover there's a 2 holes there. I find when I put this thing down all the way, it's still running really high. So basically, when you have your throttle lever almost all the way down, you want it to run at a nice idle speed. So I'm going to start this up. It's going to be loud. And basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it to the left to calm the idle down, and I'm going to turn to the right to turn the idle up. In this case, I'll only be turning it to the left because we want to, right now, it's idling a little bit high when it's, so I'm going to start it up. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. And we're going to go from there. Okay, so right now I'm turning it all the way down. Now I'm going to start back to the screw head. That's a nice Harley sound. I'd say that's a pretty good run in Snowblower. I think I'm definitely set for the snowstorm now. But I still want to take a look. I got this new auger cable here. So I might look at putting that auger cable on. And maybe fixing that pull cord, because a guy doesn't always have power. Last thing you want is to have a big snowstorm, the power go out, and the only way you can start your snowblower is by plugging it in. Sometimes it's good to have, the pull cord working too, or, you never know. Maybe your starter breaks down, and now you gotta wait for the starter. You gotta wait for a part, and, you can't start your snowblower. So we're probably gonna fix that, because we're doing so good here. I'm probably going to give this machine an oil change. It probably wouldn't hurt to grease up the front end here, just to make sure she really whips the snow out of the way for me. And yeah, so probably bring you guys along for the ride, because I think you're probably enjoying this as much as I am. Don't forget, guys, hit that comment. If you got anything to say, you need any parts, you need any help, smash that thumbs up button. It helps me out. It helps keeping this channel alive. And most of all, guys, it's free. Subscribe. I could really use the help in getting this channel going good. So please subscribe. We're going to be trying to do at least a couple videos a week. We're going to be doing four-wheelers. We're going to be doing everything. So hit that subscribe button, guys. All right, guys, as promised. I'm going to take this pull cord off, and we're going to see what's going on with it, why it's not retracting back in and whatnot. You pull on it, as you see at the beginning of the video, and it just doesn't want to go back in. So basically, I'm just going to pull these 4 bolts here, just 4 bolts. I'm going to quickly spin them out. I'm not going to record me taking them out. You just pull these 4 nuts off, slide this whole thing out, and then we're going to get you set up on the workbench, and we're going to figure out what's going on with this thing. I think it just needs some oil, probably, and it'll probably be fine. So let's do that. Okay, guys, I got this on the workbench now. Basically, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting the oil in this thing. I think that's why it's probably not working. So, just going to start spraying oil everywhere. See if that helps anything. Just basically soak it, pull on it, put it back and forth. Oh yeah, you can already feel it getting better. Sometimes that's all it takes, guys. Just take something off like this and it's getting better already. Again, these things sit with snow all over them, and they get salt all over them, and things rust and get bound up. So I have a feeling that's all this thing needed. So we're going to have a pull cord again, it looks like. I'm just pulling on it right now to try and let all the oil kind of find all of its ways in and kind of get in there. So this took about 2 minutes, and we have a pull cord again. I'm even going to stick some down here in this hole here. I know it's going to get all over the rope, but it wouldn't hurt the rope. It'll probably actually save the rope. Make the rope less brittle. Kind of make it a little bit more pliable, I guess you could say. So, alright, I think we're good. I'm going to put this puppy back on. I'm going to leave her all oily and dirty like that. I'm going to put it back on, and then we're going to move on to that auger cable. Okay, guys, I got the pull cord back on. I just wanted to show you. It retracts all the way back in. Doesn't get stuck anymore. I'm pulling on it so light and it wants to start. It's kind of funny. Anyways, that's fixed. Let's move on to this now. So, if you remember me saying at the beginning of the video, they got all this tape, and as you can see here, let me zoom out a little bit. They got all this tape, and you can see that there's tape down here. They basically did this so, I think what happened was they bought the wrong cable, and just to make it work, because the cable's just too short, so just to make it work, they just kind of ran it, and it's actually supposed to come around, going behind this wheel, but they just kind of ran it here, because it was too short. So I got the right cable. I'm going to start probably off camera, so I don't make this video too long. I'm going to pull off this shroud. It's just a bolt here and a bolt on the other side. I'm going to take off that shroud, and I'm going to look at how this cable's run, and I'll get you set up on the tripod, and you guys can watch me run the cable and whatnot. So, perfect. Well, I got the cable on, guys. I couldn't, there was no way I could get this video and you guys to be able to see everything that I did. So basically, I'm just going to show you here. So I took the handle off. In order to get this rod in, you have to have this handle off. So it's just this little nut on the side here. I just took that out, and I basically just took the handle off. I put the rod in, and then I ran the cable along here. It comes straight down like so, and it wraps around that wheel, and then it just comes along there. I also had to take this off. The bolts are still loose. I had to take this off. I ran the cable around this wheel back in here. That's really hard to see. And then I just hooked the one end of the spring onto there, down there. You can see where the spring hooks on. It's ultra hard to see, guys. I'm going to try to figure out a way to do a video how to replace cables and stuff. Just do something better so you guys can see. Maybe have somebody hold the camera and record me doing it. But I think that's going to wrap everything up on this video. It's probably too long as it is. So yeah, that's pretty much how easy it is, guys. I probably spent 2-3 hours on this machine, and it's going to blow snow for me for the rest of the winter. So I really appreciate you guys watching. If you guys need any help, you can feel free to email me. You know, you can add me on Facebook. I'll put a link down in the description. If you need any help with anything, I'm more than happy to help you guys. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, hit the like button. I really appreciate all your guys' help. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.